Welcome to Life on Life's Terms, episode number 25. This is, we've got PJ in the studio here today. He's got about 10 years of boxing experience and 6 years training. How's your day going, PJ?
It's going good.
Yeah? What did you have going on today besides work, I guess?
6 a.m. Boxing class, some bag work, and it followed up with some rounds of sparring.
Fuck, that sounds like my morning.
There we go.
I got up this morning. I got 20 minutes of skipping in.
Yep.
And then I went and did a full kettlebell circuit.
Nice.
And then after that, I did 4 rounds, 3 minutes of the target ball.
Okay.
And then another 4 rounds, 3 minutes of double-ended bag.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So it was, and I did it with a sauna suit on.
Oh yeah. How was that?
Fuck me. and I got 100 push-ups in as well today.
With the sauna suit on too?
Yeah. So I did the.
Oh man.
I did the. I did the whole circuit with the sauna suit. The only thing I didn't do was the skipping part of it.
Okay.
But it was pretty. It was pretty fucky, man. Like it was, I mean, I do a hit anyways, like every day, high intensity training. I shouldn't say every day. So every second day in my circuit, I do a hit. Okay. And that hit is always with the sauna suit. So the first day in my circuit, it's 20 minutes skipping, always for the warm up. Mm-hmm. And then I'll do 100 push-ups, 50 sit-ups. And then from there, I'll do 4 rounds, 3 minutes on the target ball. Mm-hmm. Same thing on the double-ended. Then I go another full 8 rounds, 3 minutes on that Century Versus fucking thing there.
Okay.
And then with 16-ounce gloves on that.
Yeah. How is that thing?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it from our buddy over on the way.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And to be honest with you, like I can't get in a striking coach every so often, right? I have a couple guys that hold pads for me, but I blew at their shoulder.
Oh, okay.
They didn't know how to go in to the actual hit. So every time they were getting hit, they were just
flew right back.
Yeah, past their head almost, right?
Yeah.
And I do know how to hit things.
Yeah.
Like I've boxed before, I fought before. So that was not very fun for them.
Oh yeah.
And so hence why they don't train with me anymore. And then so then, like I said, on the second day is the exact same thing that I said today, and then tomorrow is my third day, last day in my 3-day intervals.
Okay.
And tomorrow is a pretty crazy day, but no sauna suit. Oh. So I only do the sauna suit 1.5 days, so to say. Yeah. And that fucking drops water like crazy. I've cut weight before. Yeah. But I'm doing it in a different way. I'm only using the sauna suit to keep my heart rate up. Yeah. While I'm doing the calisthenics. Yeah. And it's like my chest. I can feel my chest just melting away. Like there's no tomorrow, right? I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah. But so tomorrow when you wake up, are you going to be another circuit? Like what does your interval time look like? Do you...
It's actually when I go in the mornings, it's to meet up with some other people I hold pads for. Okay. And then they teach some bag classes there. So sometimes I'll join in with them. So sometimes it could be 3-minute rounds of like working the bag. It could be boxing. It could be Muay Thai. It just depends on the day. And then,
so you're training Muay Thai too?
I started Muay Thai actually.
Oh, shit, son. Oh. See, that's one thing I find we don't have enough of in Canada. Nope. Is I think we've had boxing for so long that we don't have a hell of a lot of good Muay Thai gyms. We have them, but we only have a handful of gyms that push out some really good competitive fighters. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. But I haven't seen a huge wealth of it in Canada, especially in Alberta. What do you think?
I would kind of agree, but I think it's also just a case of like what point of the year it was, because there was a point where there were Muay Thai gyms in Alberta that were just pumping out fighters, and they even had like good rivalries back and forth. Just as people got older, they started doing their own things, or maybe they decided to like open their own branch of a gym or things like that, and then it gets a bit more split. And you can kind of see there's a bit of politics going on in between some gyms, or they kind of be like, we don't really deal with these guys. Okay. So then there's a lot of situations where maybe they'll have one big guy, but they don't have other big guys to work with because they don't want to talk with the other gyms, even though they have other big guys.
Okay.
Or in the case of for women, a lot of the times too, they'll have like one girl and they want to work with other girls, but there's none that are there, and there's another girl in another gym.
Yeah.
They could just, hey, do like what some of the boxing gyms do, like, hey, we got people here, let's just get some rounds in.
We had Rick Jamerson in a little while ago, and that's what I was saying back where I'm from. We used to tour gyms all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
So you were always fight. Like sparring wasn't sparring. Sparring was fighting. You're out to knock each other's heads off all the time, right?
Yep.
And I don't agree with it. I do and I don't. I mean, it's a fine balance.
Yes.
You can't train that way all of the time. You're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And like I was saying to Rick before, is that when I do have another guy that I'm sparring with, I'm fight or flight now.
Okay.
I'm not seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
Because and from what I've read, that's what's happening in the brain. Like in the context of there's been so many concussions to my head that I'm not able to see the chess game anymore. I'm literally just fighting. I'm looking for a knockout as opposed to looking for points anymore. Yeah. And I never recognized that I was doing that until I had heard this on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I was like, oh shit, I'm fucking totally doing that. Yeah. And this is why sparring is not fun anymore. Yeah. Because I'm walking into a ring swinging for the fucking fences. Like there's no technicality anymore. Right. Yeah. And that's scary. When you're always biting down on your mouth guard and just going like it's not fun. Let's back up a little bit though. So your 10-year boxing career, how far did you make it into your boxing career?
So I'll just give the backstory with it because the 10-year actually mixes along with Muay Thai.
Okay.
So when I started Muay Thai, it was because at a certain point I was thinking about like, well, I did want to do boxing. So a friend of mine said like, oh, there's this gym that does that. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. But it was a Muay Thai gym. But they said like, oh, we have boxing classes too. So I said, why not? Yeah. Did that. And then almost like less than a year into it, they got me into a tournament because they felt like, oh, you'd be fine into it. Yeah. Obviously, first competition, the most jarring thing and like most nerve thing is because like all the things that you can't hear anything properly, you're nervous. Yeah. Then I just hear one person yell at me to do this immediately, almost like it was like a video game. I just did what he said.
Oh, wow.
He said like, throw this. I threw it. He says like, kick. I kicked. And all I could hear was that person like, just do this. I was like, all right, keep doing that. Wow. And it was one of my old instructors, and he told me, he's just like, you just got to spar more. I'm like, all right, I'll just keep doing that. So I got into that, started working a bit more into it, sparring more, and then at a certain point, well, at the beginning, they told me I have long arms. So I said like, well, I guess I got to go to a boxing gym. So where I was working at the time, it was near Panther Gym. Okay. So I went there, and I was just like, hey, can I work boxing here? And they said like, yeah, sure, we have classes. Then just started asking more advice because even though there's like the classes, you can do everything here. You do that, hit the bags and hit the mitts and everything else like that. I got to the point I'm like, no, I want to know more. So I'd go and be like, hey, can I ask you something after class? And could you show me this? Could you show me that? So that's where they started showing me that. So they're showing more things in boxing. Same time I was also doing that Muay Thai. I was like, hey, could you quickly show me this? And I was like, okay, took a look into that. And then I did a couple more tournaments here and there, and they was supposed to be getting ready to do a smoker fight. So that just means an amateur fight, which doesn't have a record really for it. Yeah. For Muay Thai. Problem was, week of, I was given a massive concussion.
Oh, fuck.
Like the kind of concussion where it was just that I felt okay after I got hit, and all of a sudden lost feeling in my legs for a split second and fell. And then they caught me, and so they double checked with me, and it was a really bad one, where there was even a certain point, and it really scared me. Almost scared me out of the sport because at a certain point for like a couple seconds, I couldn't feel the right side of my body. Oh, yeah. So I was like, okay, what's going on? Then slowly recovered. And obviously during that time, I couldn't train. Yeah. So I had to do more rehab things and everything else like that. Terrify one person at work. He's just like, why are you here? I'm just like, I need to work.
Yeah, exactly.
But went through it, recovered. And then at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I want to get back into it, but I'm really, really concerned after going through that. And it was also a case, as I learned over the years, I just got drawn into a war with somebody else when I shouldn't have gone into the war with them. Yeah. Because a lot of times, like if you're around someone who's more experienced than you want to try and imitate them or do something like that. Yeah. So if they're coming at you like that, you're thinking that's what you should do. Yeah. When you should be stopping and thinking like, is it really what you do? Yeah. And that's where I started to be a bit more looking into the technical aspects of things, because at a certain point I'm like, okay, there has to be more than this one path. Yeah. To approach it.
Well, I think Rick was reiterating that as well, like saying he was he's more of a finesse boxer than he was a brawler.
Yeah.
And I can definitely empathize though with the whole knockout deal. Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I've been at a place where I didn't know where I was. So I've never been knocked out to the point where I was completely out. Yeah. But I've been out on my feet.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And then out on my feet, I still ended up fighting. Right? Like there was a gym that I used to hang at. I'm not dropping the name so what we used to do is we used to do like 20 circles around a baseball bat, and then somebody with fresh legs would come in and they'd start swinging on you. And the reason for this is because it makes you feel like it's a knockout. You're dizzy, you're out of place, you don't know what the fuck's going, like you just got your bell rung, right? Yeah. And now this guy's swinging at you. And for the amount of time that you're out spinning in the gym, right? That's how long a knockout really lasts. Yeah. So like training that all of the time, and my coach actually got that from Vanderlei Silva. Okay. So whenever you saw Vanderlei Silva, and for any of those podcast listeners, if you don't know who Vanderlei Silva is, you need to go check that guy out. Pride, man. Like the shit that guy did in Pride was fucking crazy. But his knees would hit the mat and then up. Like he'd look like the Undertaker. You know what I mean? Knees would hit the mat and then Vanderlei Silva would just stand. And he was out. Yeah. Like there was no way that he was not fucking up. And anybody from the Shoot a Box gym, they did the same thing. That's because they kept training that around in a circle, and the next thing you know, some guy's coming after them. Yeah. Right? That was pretty wild. So when we started doing that, I remember we had a fella named Jason McDonald who was in, and he had been to the UFC a couple times, and he saw that we were training in that way. Yeah. He fucking walked out of the gym. I'm not doing that shit. Like you guys are gonna fuck yourselves up, you know? But when it came down to going into competition and stuff, it was 100% valuable. Like, I mean, I wasn't afraid anymore. Yeah. But it also gave me a scary confidence because I was training in that regard. So now I would leave my chin open. Yeah. Fuck it, hit me.
Yeah. Because if you can't get me there, what do I have to be scared of?
And the intimidation factor, some guy hits you right in the button. Yeah. You drop to your knees and stand up like it didn't do anything to you.
Yeah, it's gonna mentally affect them a lot.
Fucking right.
It is a great way to kill somebody's confidence. Because then they're thinking like, I just threw everything I got him. He won't go down. What do I do?
It's dangerous. So what happened after you got knocked out? Obviously you went back into the sport and kept going?
Yeah. Went back into the sport. Just became much more aware of like, okay, first off, because that usually should be most of the case, learn to move my head. Yeah. I was just like, rule number one, everybody, move your head. The best way to take a hit is not get hit. Yeah. So at a certain point, learn to move my head. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, this is where I started research more into the sport. I'm like, which fighters can I watch? Because obviously they're the ones that are on TV that you see right there. So like Floyd and those guys. Yeah. But at a certain point, I'm like, okay, but a lot of people talk about watch some of the older boxers because they went all the way to like some of them went into their 50s. Yeah. And they still were good. Outside of them being really tough, they just knew they were really hard to hit. Yeah. So I was like, okay, how do you do that? But at a certain point, I'm like, you don't want to try and imitate them and be like a really shitty bootleg of them. Yeah. Because then you're going to leave yourself wide open to something way worse. Yeah. So at a certain point, you just want to figure out, okay, what can I do to get a little closer to that? What can I do to get a little closer to that? And then there was a point I was supposed to do amateur boxing fights. Yeah. First one that was supposed to come about, they wouldn't let me in because they counted the Muay Thai tournaments as fights. So I had too many.
Oh, wow.
Second one was to get ready for another tournament. Got injured during training. So then I'm just like, so what am I doing?
So let's get into, because probably Americans don't know what this fight count means and why you couldn't fight. Because like their rules are a lot different, obviously, than ours. So what do you mean by there was too many fights and you weren't able to fight in Muay Thai?
I had tournaments in Muay Thai. Okay. So I don't know if they still do it now or maybe they still kind of keep track of it. So what they did for a boxing Alberta, or at the very least at the time, was whatever sport that you did was considered like a contact sport, they would consider it a fight in your record.
Oh, fuck.
So all the tournaments I did, they counted them all.
Oh my God.
So even though I would be technically green going in,
Yeah.
They said like, well, you did these. And I'm like, well, the level of contact wasn't there. It didn't have the same amount of time. There's so many things different, but they said like it counted. So they wouldn't let me into that tournament because they said I had too many bouts. So I'm like, all right.
So you couldn't meet the requirements for amateur because you had too many fights underneath your belt.
One of the tournaments, it was sub-novice, so like 0 to 2.
That is such horseshit. So they didn't see it as the discipline. They just saw it as
you did.
Do you have enough balls to be here? Basically.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So then afterwards, it's just like, okay, that sucks. Okay, let's get yourself ready for this other one. So now we know what they're talking about. So we know what they're talking about. Did that. I was getting really excited for it. Trained harder and things like that. Everything else like that. Ended up getting injured and sick. And I was just completely out. So I was like, man, every time I'm like getting stoked for something goes wrong. And then that's around the time where somebody contacted me saying like, hey, we have this gym here. We need a boxing instructor. Would you be willing to do that? So I said like, you know what? I'm in between. Let me just do it. So, because I've already been helping out at some other gyms as well. Yeah. Covering classes and also coordinating for some guys for their tournaments and things like that. So I said like, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. And this was like one gym that gave me a chance. This was the Fire Martial Arts.
Okay.
When it used to be open. Yeah. So when it was there, they took me on just to fill in for somebody else who had to go take another job for work. Okay. So I started to fill in the class, did the first day with it, and they really loved it. They said, like, we really love the fact that it was just specific, detailed, and you want to make sure everyone gets it and just goes back with something.
So let me ask you, in that class, were most of your clients like a corporate client, or was it like young people trying to learn the sport?
A mix of both. Yeah. Mostly the younger crowd.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah, most gyms will always have like the younger crowd that come in, and also depending what part of town you're in, whoever can walk in there. It was a bit out of the way for some people, so you would see a bit more of the corporate, but there was a bit of like corporate, or maybe they work in the fields or in the rigs and things like that. Yeah, just whoever would come in, or just somebody's kids they just dropped off and they just wanted them to do the class too.
Okay.
And then also some of the fighters from the other classes, so like Muay Thai or the advanced Muay Thai, they saw like, okay, he knows a lot about boxing. And well, the guy who actually coached for me for my first tournament, he was there too.
So how many years were you into your boxing career when you came to this place where you started this class?
This would have been my 4th.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was in tandem with Muay Thai.
So did you find it difficult to train, like to coach to coach and then also train yourself for fights?
Oh, yeah, that is always going to be the hardest part, because the thing is, like, when you need to train for, whether you're training for fights or maybe the possibility of a fight, not even that there's a fight guaranteed. A lot of the times in the fight game, people don't realize that even though they say, like, you have a fight, anything could happen literally to the last minute.
Well, and it's kind of funny, and I'll touch on this too, like you were saying that you got sick before your fight, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed, even in my gym, is when people were working out, cutting weight, getting to the place where they needed to be to go, that's when you're most susceptible to getting sick.
Yes.
And one of the things that and Joe Rogan had said this a while back, and so did Eddie Bravo, and they were saying that it's almost like your body self-sabotages. Yeah. Because it's saying, yeah, we know what's coming up, especially if you've had a heavy knockout. Yeah. Your body's like, yeah, watch how we're going to pull the fucking plug on this, right? Yeah. And so you almost have to trick your body by, like, what some of our coaches used to do, because they had caught on to this, like at a gym that I was in out east. Yeah. And they would just lie to you on your fight date. So what they would do is they would tell you that your fight date was a week before your actual fight week. Yeah. So you're ready to go. You're almost at weight. And they say, no, you got another week. Yeah. Oh.
So you got that little bit of like, oh, you can now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. We're okay, you know?
So that paranoia that was there, it's just like, oh, you gave me another gap of time to prepare.
And this also came from the fucking nut who made us go around a baseball bat. Like, you know what I mean? So like
There's a method to the madness.
He was a total psychological fuck around. You know what I mean? Like, he totally knew what he was doing, and he knew how he was kind of like flicking with your peon brain. Yeah. Being a fighter, because I'm not saying that fighters are stupid, but when you're in that mode, all you're thinking about is the fight. Yeah. Like, and you're training 100%, right? So like. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be like so one-track minded that he can just move it a little bit here, and you're just immediately going to derail right away.
What do you mean? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Like everything in your life just becomes, what do you mean? What?
Yeah. Oh, then everything that you remember about your rest of your life just comes back with you. It's like, hey, excuse me? We've been here the entire time while you've been doing this?
Yeah. So here you are teaching this course and training at the same time. Did you ever get to a place where you just went right back into training for fights, like full in?
No, because at a certain point, and it might have also been just because of like some of the previous jobs I've done, and it's probably also why I kind of like doing this. I like being in the position of like helping people, especially when I can see any tiny bit of improvement.
Yeah.
Especially if it's just like, if I can just tweak your game a little bit, it's going to mean a lot for me because I know I played a factor for it.
Yeah.
Like I don't even need like the shout out things. I can just tell like, okay, I know you're listening, so it means I'm making sense to you.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that. Like I give free guitar lessons. So why do I give free guitar lessons? Is because the second people pay me, they think that they should just know how to play a fucking song without practicing.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's not going to work. So I can fire them if they're not paying me, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing even like one of the guys that I had in that was holding pads for me. I was teaching him the fun, and this is so true, like so this guy came in and he thought that he could fight like any man does, right? Like most men believe that they can. So I said, okay, you stand on the other side and I'm going to stand on this side and you're going to put the pads up. And I said, I'm going to have my gloves on. And I said, I'm going to pull the calls out to you and you got to stop them.
Yeah.
So I started doing the combos 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And he realized by the second combo, fuck, I don't know what he's doing, and he's going to hurt me even though he's not trying to hurt me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he had realized, okay, we're not going here anymore.
Yeah.
And he got that humility and that humbleness to say, okay, I have nothing to provide at this moment except I am a warm body bag.
Yeah.
And so after that, he kind of came around, his cardio got much better, and he realized how technical boxing was, like throwing his ankles out and all that stuff and twisting and all that stuff. He realized that. And then all of a sudden you saw him watching Lomachenko and he's like, this fucking guy knows what he's doing. I'm like, well, of course he does. And it's not that he just doesn't know what he's doing. He's a fucking prodigy. Like he's amazing at what he does. He's an artist in there, right? And he actually caught and understood, right?
Yeah.
So in your earlier career, what would you say is the biggest highlight in your fighting career?
In my fighting career, there wasn't really much of a highlight there. It was the only thing I would say is like maybe one of the tournaments I did is where I decided it was actually because of two parts to it. So one of the tournaments I decided like, let me try and gain weight. Let me gain mass to try and see if I can do that.
So what did you fight at for weight?
I normally fought at 160 and 165.
Fuck.
But then I decided, okay, because everyone tells me about my frame and everything else like that. Let me try to see if I can like reliably get to 180. My body didn't decide to accept that, so I went into one tournament basically at 176, 177. So I was essentially just a fat guy in a division that I shouldn't be in.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously these guys were clearly bigger than me. And so one of them kind of had their way with me, but the best part about it was he couldn't hurt me.
Yeah.
It was just a case of, I'm out of shape, but I'm blocking, catching everything else like that.
Yeah.
A couple months later, I lose 20 pounds. I'm in the 160s.
Oh, wow.
So those guys see me, they're just like, you're in the 160s? I was like, yeah, because I couldn't keep that weight.
You know what? I can empathize with that. I started off 205. I'm only 5'11", right? So like 205, I'm fighting guys who are 6'4", fucking 6'5", you know, and I only had one game, pick them up, ground and pound them, and that's it. Like that's all I had. And then I cut down to 175. And when I got to 175, I was a scary, scary fucking guy. I was just throwing people around because my muscle mass came from carrying around 205 to 240, 260 pounds even at sometimes, right? So in that regard, when it came down to stuffing wrestling, it was nothing but a thing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, shoot on me, watch me sprawl. If you can push me up against the cage, we might have an issue. Yeah. But I can probably throw you before that. Yeah. Right? So that's, especially in the amateur way back then, people weren't so, how would you say, cross-trained between jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, and Muay Thai. Like you just didn't have it then. And it wasn't that people were just so much more one thing than they were the other. They just weren't proficient at everything. Like these fucking kids coming up nowadays in MMA, they've taken on MMA like it's kung fu. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, or Taekwondo. Like, that's how they're training this thing. And they're cross-training right from the age of 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. Some of these kids are black belts in jiu-jitsu by the time they're 17 and 18 years old. Like, they almost just get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they've been training in jiu-jitsu for so long that it's just crazy. As soon as they get the age, it's like, here you go. It's fucking nuts, right? So in your coaching career, what's the biggest highlight you've seen in that?
Biggest highlight? I would say there were multiple highlights. It's when I got to work with professional fighters.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, and it wasn't like a case I got to work with them directly at the time. It was just helping them out because they were in the gym I was helping them with. And for one of them, he was just getting ready for one fight, and he saw me watching him on the bag because I like to just see what people are doing and then get an idea of it. Yeah. So he thought, like, is there anything you want me to work on? And I'm just like, saying, give me a moment. I just want to see what you do. Yeah. Because I can't take a blind shot and just not know. Yeah. So I was like, watch them for a couple of rounds. I just said, you kind of move a little bit like this. Let's just readjust your footwork here. And then with the way you're moving it, so now you don't feel as stiff. Yeah. Be able to move around, circle around. And then I also said, now that you're able to circle around, if you feel the person's getting ready to load up, just take him out for a walk. Yeah. And it was actually key for him winning his fight.
Oh, wow.
To the point he even told me, it's like, it was just, I mean, he was drunk at the time when he was telling me about this, but it was like, yeah, thanks, but it was thanks to you and everything else. I'm like, that's great. And I'm just like, and he says, is there anything you want me to do? I'm just like, hey, if you can just let people know that I can help them out, that's really it. Yeah. And then I would get contacted by a couple of people here saying like, hey, can we do some pad work here? Hey, can you help me out, like, get ready for this? Because a lot of times people start to realize like, hey, I'm a certain height and reach. Yeah. Maybe I should work my hands, or maybe, I'm dealing with people longer than me, and because they're using their hands, what can I do to stop them instead of like throwing myself on top of them? So then I was just like, okay, that's where I started around working then, that's where I started to realize, okay, if I can do this for professional fighters, what can I do so I can make it so anyone can understand it? Yeah. Because a lot of the times is at the beginning, especially for people who are starting, when they see somebody, and it's understandable, it's an athlete you're looking at. So you're going to see something that just looks like superhuman to you. Yeah. Or what they're doing seems like some mystical technique, and it's just like, no, it's just this one specific thing. Yeah. Like where you notice where people, when they do like straight punches, like jabs or crosses, they chicken wing it and their arms come out. Yeah. So the easiest way because over time, because I would talk about it with other coaches, I was like, yeah, man. It was just like, I just make them do drills, stand near the wall. So then at a certain point, I was thinking like, why don't you just tell me you're just pointing? Okay. And if you think about it, just like tell them to point, because you know they're not going to do this when they point. Even a child won't do this when they point. Just tell them to point. Yeah. And I said, like, make a fist and do the same thing. And then boom, they do a straight punch.
That's excellent. Yeah. We were, I've never heard of that technique. For me, it was always pin your elbows to your body and then kick your arms off of your body. So that's how it was always told to me. Yeah. So as long as your elbows are getting kicked off of your rib cage, so to say, then you know you're gonna be in line. Yeah. And then when I learned the techniques of Savat, they're not like that at all. Like I'm not gonna say that they throw their arms out, but they come off their body and they loop. Yes. And that's fucking scary. If you ever see a guy, it looks like to iterate it in somebody's mind, it looks like it's coming out at you as a hook. Yeah. But it first comes off the body like a jab, but it hits you like a hook. And it's fucking scary because it comes right around your guard. Yes. And you didn't even see it coming at all. And that's why I was talking to a buddy of mine who is a Muay Thai practitioner. And I told him about Savat and how Savat is a very dangerous sport. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but it's not like real Muay Thai. And I'm like, I'm not saying that either one is more dangerous than the other. I'm not here to argue that point. All I'm saying is Savat's a very fucking dangerous sport. Like they're wearing these uni leotards, which throws you off a little bit. And then you see what they're doing to each other. And it's scary. Like that's really
they got those
scary.
Shoes on too.
Yeah.
They can be extremely pinpoint with them.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's a really nuts martial art, right? Yeah. So, what other pro fighters have you worked with where your techniques kind of help them in a positive way win fights?
It's usually in the case of instead of me trying to say like I'm going to show you this and then it's going to go about it like that, because for the most part, professional fighters, they're experienced. They already have or some of them are set in their ways and they already know what they do. So it's usually just a case I ask them what feels comfortable for you. So as we work along with it, I ask them like, okay, we're just gonna work on this, and and they say like, should I throw it like this or like this? Because usually some people told you do it like X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I just may ask what feels comfortable, and then they throw it a couple times like this feels comfortable. I'm like, all right, let's tweak it that way, and let's just work from there. So that way, when there's an idea or something that comes about with them, it becomes theirs. Okay. Not something me handing to them, because then you could forget on the fly.
Yeah.
But if it feels like something, and it is guaranteeingly that you're thinking of it. So you're going to think about like, hey, this is my idea. Why would I forget it?
And you know what? At the same time, when you were saying like a lot of pro fighters are stuck in their way, that's totally true. And it's also bad habits.
Yeah.
For a lot of them. Like I remember one of the most shittiest moments I ever experienced with another fighter was I could see all day long how he was getting knocked out. And we would try to encourage him to try a new technique. No. I'm just gonna stick to it this way, because it became complacency was easier than learning how to change, because the change had become so difficult.
Yeah.
And that was really shitty to see, because this guy's getting fucking brain damage from not listening. And and the coach is making money off this guy, when does the coach finally come in and say, look, we need to, either you change this shit or we're packing it up.
Yeah.
And the coach never did, because this guy's paying the rent right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is going to be the longevity of your fighting career if you keep on doing this?
Yeah.
And let's face it, fighters don't have, since seeing MMA, fighters have a shorter career span, in my opinion, than they ever have outside of like the Mayweathers and some of those guys. But even you look at Lomachenko said 32, he's done.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be going any further than that. And then you have like I don't think we'll see another Mayweather at his age come back into the ring and keep doing what he's doing. I think the fight game now has made it, and especially with the USADA bullshit in MMA, as well as boxing, and how they're tweaking the concussion piece. So I've heard that there's things coming out about new standards in concussion, saying that if you've had so many concussions, you have to hang it up.
Yeah.
And that's going to seriously knock down the age career, I think, of boxers, right? So
I would say it's like a case of depending on their style and things like that, because there are some fighters you'll see that look like they're getting hit in the head, but they're really good at just turning slightly or just like slipping and moving on.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of, what do you prefer? Because there's some people who will just tell you and usually they are the best people to have. Like if you want them, if they come in there, they're just like, I like to fight.
Yeah.
I like to fight. I'm like, that's great. But in what way are you approaching the fight?
Joe Schilling's like that. He just likes to fucking bang.
Yeah.
And
it's great. It's exciting. The crowds love it. They get to see the blood. They go, but I'm like, my biggest thing is like, what about in the long run?
Yeah.
Because once that's all over, and you're in the hospital, is that screaming crowd going to be in there with you?
Well, and that being said, so like, obviously the Don Kings of the game and all that were fucking like, they were monsters, is what they were. What they did to boxers, really, they were just monsters. And you see now like Golden Boy mixed up with Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah.
Their biggest mandate for any of the fighters is they have to know how to hold a ledger book. And they also, no matter what, have to put X amount of dollars out of their purse into a slush fund. They won't fight them if they don't. Right?
Yeah.
Unless they're already a pro. So I guess Golden Boy's putting on the Chuck Liddell fight with Tito Ortiz.
Oh, they are?
Apparently so. And,
okay.
And because those two are pros, it's a different ideal.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to their stable, like the fighters in their stable, they teach them all how to run a ledger book, and they teach them all how to slush fund their money so that when they do retire, there's dividends on annuals or annuities, right? Yeah. So actually teaching them like business, which I totally agree with. I think boxing should have had something like a union a long time ago.
They've tried.
Yeah. But And this is the thing too. I was going to touch with you. I don't know if you've gone outside of Alberta fighting, but anywhere I've ever, and I have, like I've gone to Quebec, I've gone to Ontario, in Canada. But no matter where you go, talking about the fight industry, it's always dirty.
Yeah.
There's always something going on in the fight game that's not on the up and up. And I mean, take Muay Thai, I understand the betting. That's part of the sport. That's what it's supposed to be. But it's also clean.
Yeah.
Like in other places that you go, it's not clean. Like people are not trying to even be clean. They're just trying to make what they can off of what they can. And then you have guys who get knocked out and die because of it. You know what I mean? That's the casualty of that dirtiness of the sport.
Yeah.
And then it also, I think, saturates the other end of it. And that's very, very unfortunate because the fighters are the ones who really are the casualties at the end of the day. They don't get paid like people think that they get paid. Like,
no, that's one really great misconception that comes about with it, because usually when they see like some of the fighters who have like the great like paychecks, everything else, they are, I mean, even smaller than 1%. They're like 0.1% of what the fighters get. If you ask like any like prospect fighter, so anyone who's just started in the program, ask them how much they make a fight, a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 or $2. But that's before like having to pay the corner, having to pay the management, and then they make a couple bucks. That's why a lot of them have like 2 or 3 jobs on the side, because they realize like, I'm not making that kind of money yet, because at the beginning you're a nobody.
I was watching an episode of something or another where the guy's management of his gym, and he's got a stable of MMA pro fighters, he doesn't charge them for the fight. He makes nothing off the purse.
That's good.
He only charges them $500 a month for their subscriptions. And those fighters, the pro fighters, are in the same place with the regulars. Yeah. And he's like, the regulars have to fight like the pros.
That's good.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody pays the same amount. The rent is cleared. We're gonna have the doors open and the lights are on. I'm gonna go to the pros fights and I'm gonna corner the corner, but I'm not taking anything off the purse. That guy's got his kids to feed. Yeah. You know, he's got his liability to feed, all this stuff, right? Yeah. And he said, when that guy finally retires, what kind of coach do you think he's going to be in my gym? Yeah. Right? Like it's going to be a payback. So I think that philosophy, if that catches on in the gyms, I think that could go a long way. We kind of see that here in Canada with the not-for-profits. Yeah. Like we have a lot of not-for-profit boxing gyms in anywhere in Canada, really. Yeah. So we see that philosophy, but the problem is once you get a good fighter, they don't stay in that not-for-profit gym anymore. They usually go to another gym.
Yeah, because usually it's a case of where I would say that's also like the relationship between like the fighter and maybe the people at the gym there. Because most of the time they'll always stick around with like who they knew from the beginning. Yeah. The only thing is that's like you don't want to get it to the point where it's just like one person's just like, that's all I know, that's who I'm going to stick with. Because I usually encourage people, because okay, this is going to be a bit of a point where some people be like, they either agree or they'll be like, no, we don't. Yeah. But usually a lot of the times is, this is why I said like the case of like some fighters don't have people their size or their skill level. I encourage them. Roam around. Yeah, yeah. Introduce yourself to some of the gyms. Yeah, yeah. Be like, hey, I'm just trying to get ready for this. Or, have your coach come along with you. Be like, hey, we just want to, give each other, like, we can help you here, we can help you there. Get to know each other more for the gyms. Have that interpersonality thing. So that way, then you can still have home base, which is your main gym. But like how some pros do it, like, okay, I have my main gym for this, but when I need to do something to work here, I'll go to this gym. Yeah, yeah. When I need to work at this, I'll go to this gym. Yeah. And then come back there. But it's also like, how do you build that relationship between the coach or the people there and the fighter? Yeah. Because sometimes it might be a case of like, you might have a talented person, but they kind of feel like, I'm not really getting the kind of attention I want.
Well, and I think that's what's unique about you. So if I can get into what I've seen you do is you go gym to gym. Yes. And you'll train as a striking coach in any gym, basically, is what it looks like to me. Yes. Right? And I think what's really valuable about that is gyms are allowing you to train guys in their gym. I mean, we don't have to talk about money or not. Obviously, that's to any gym, seeing another guy come in from the outside, they're losing money on that. Yeah. Right? But I think that's really interesting that you're able to corner it as a one-on-one in that regard. So I think that that's pretty amazing, as opposed to saying, hey, here's my gym, come to my gym, I'm going to train you here.
Yeah.
You're more like a personal trainer in the context that you're going to client in order to train them in that place. How has that worked out for you, going to different gyms like that? Are they really that accepting?
It's more of a case of like I don't like go there like door to door, like knock on the door like, hey, I got this product. No. It's usually I run to people, or maybe somebody got in touch with me on Instagram or something like that.
Okay.
And then they say like, hey, you think you could just like work with us for like a thing or two? And I usually tell people, I'm like, all right, because sometimes in some cases like maybe they do want to pay, and I usually tell them first session's free. Yeah. Okay. I want you to know how it feels. If it feels like, does it feel like we mesh? Then we can go from there. Yeah. If not, hey, you got to see what I did, and then call it a day there. Yeah. Because the biggest thing about it is I always want to be upfront about what I'm aiming to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why I usually ask them, because a lot of the times there are people will be in situations like, actually there was one point because I thought like, okay, I'm mostly in the south side. Maybe I can convince people, or maybe I can find people south side. People would start getting in touch with me. They were in the north side. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to you. Yeah. And they're like, and I just said, and they're like, are you sure? I'm just like, hey, if you are a part of this gym, talk to your coaches or anything else like that. See if they're okay with me stopping by. I'll even do a formal introduction with like whoever's there, like the owners and everything else like that. Tell them like I'm just here to help them out. Yeah. I'm not even looking for any kind of cause or thing like that, or they set up something with me. I'll let you see from there. And then sometimes okay with it, sometimes not.
And I think, one of the benefits that I've seen even from your Instagram page is you're picking out what these pros are doing in the fights. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I see a lot of things. Like I've been watching boxing. I've been in the sport. I've been fighting for some time. But some of the shit that you pick up on, I've never seen. Really? Like I haven't seen somebody be able to pick it down to like you're talking about a guy dropping it. I think one of the Instagrams that I saw was a guy dropping his shoulder ever so slightly, and how the guy took advantage of it within the split second. Sure, I mean, I would have saw that, but I wouldn't have seen it because he was leaning, because the camera angle from that fight wasn't actually showing the shoulder that dropped. I mean, you could assume it after the guy threw it, but what you were actually depicting was his body moving over to the right. Yeah. And the camera of that fight was just looking at those fighters in 2D from one side. Yeah. And you saw the drop in I would assume the torso or the abdomen. Yeah. And he dropped ever so slightly, and then all of a sudden the cross came through on the broad side of the camera angle, right?
That would have been the Jared Hurd Erislandia Lara fight.
Yeah,
So that was the knockdown at the very last round. Yeah. And basically it was like what there was cases they were working on the inside. So I usually tell people, if you're working the inside, don't expect to use your eyes often. You really can't see what's going on, because not only a punch is coming in your face, the person's face is rubbing in your eyes and things like that. So it was just a case of he was just feeling with it. So I usually tell him, like, just feel. At a certain point, you're going to notice the arm might drop down, maybe because they're tired, maybe they're trying to do something. Yeah. So Hurd felt that, and then he just pretty much used it as a button to realize, okay, he's open. Bam, the first shot came through. Bam, the other shot came through. He didn't even need to look at him. He's trained it so many times with his coach at Hillcrest Boxing. I believe that's their gym. Yeah. And they've just been training with it for so long that it's just an automatic reaction to him. It's like, if he feels this, he's going to come back with this. If he feels that, he's going to come back with that. That's where you can tell, like, in the inside who's a more natural inside fighter. Because a lot of times they just, like, head-to-head and just bang away. Then you're going to run to that person who just can't get hit in there. Or they get hit, like, once out of every 5. Yeah. But they're able to touch you. They're using just feeling for it. But, yeah, I remember that one because it was a really great, because they have it in the replay in slow motion. I'm just like, oh, wow, you can actually see that. And then at a certain point, that's why I usually like to do with those videos. Because I usually, actually, to segue into it, a lot of times when I do those videos, I'm not even a case of, like, because some people are like, oh, this is our secret, things like that. Yeah. Nah, I'm just let it out there.
Yeah, I get why people are like that. Oh, this is my secret thing. But in my opinion, to a fundamental degree, you're not allowing anybody to learn boxing unless they were to get in the ring and spar. Yeah. And let's face it, a lot of the people who watch boxing don't have that integral understanding. Yeah. Because most of them are, like I said, the man who thinks that they can fight until all of a sudden you square up against a guy who has fought. Yeah. And there's, like I said, buddy, my friend who was holding those pads, man, he really, and I'm not in shape. Yeah. I'm close to 300 pounds right now. And he thought, oh, fuck, I got this guy all day long. And that's like, I butterbeaned him.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
just like, if someone's been at this sport, there's just little subtle things you will just know. Just the way they stand in front of you should let you know something's up.
Standing and their chin's not way out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The
Exactly.
hands are up. The hands are up.
And the focus that the person's eyes on you, they just suddenly change when they hear that buzzer.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
their eyes
yeah,
just
yeah.
immediately
Yeah,
lock on.
yeah,
and then they know something's not right.
Yeah. Fuck, you were my friend, weren't you?
Yeah, I still am.
I still am.
It's just tough love.
Yeah. We got about 3 minutes where we're going to put that to the side for a second.
Just for a second, it's just business. And then afterwards, we're good friends again.
Exactly.
Like, how's your living?
So I think, is there anything else that you see predominantly quite often that you pick up on with some of the guys that you fight with, like a common denominator, if you will?
I would say, which is a very positive thing, is a lot of people, even though it's just a case of like maybe people don't know how to approach them or talk to them, they're very open to advice. They're very open to like ideas. Yeah. It's just a case of like how you approach it. I always approach it as a conversation. I'm just like, hey, have you ever thought about this or things like that? I never, because like obviously there's a case of like, I'm the coach, I'm here to show you this, X, Y, Z. Yeah. I like to just make it more a bit of an open conversation. And if I know you decide to ask like, hey, but what about this? But what about this? I'm like, that's good. You're engaging. Mm-hmm. So at a certain point, as we discuss it, maybe there's something I might have missed, and you think like, okay, what about this? And then I can answer with that. Then I'll ask them a question, be like, so what do you think when this should be happening there? Yeah. Or sometimes when I'm hanging around with some of the fighters who are watching other people fight, I tell them, what do you see? Then I'll ask them like, okay, you see that, but can you see something else? Because then I'm because usually like is the spectator view. And then there's a case of like that other view, like, okay, what else do you see? Yeah,
that's kind of like what I was saying when sparring now. I can't see that chess game anymore. I can see it when I'm watching a fight. Yeah. Like, for instance, the Mikey Garcia fight. Yeah. When I was watching that Mikey Garcia fight, I saw all day long what his game was. Yeah. And he kept playing the same game over and over again every round, and he won it that way, right? Mm-hmm. But can I pull that off now fighting a guy sparring? I just don't see it. And I think that's because of the head trauma. Like, I just don't see where it is.
It's just reflex now.
Yeah, like, I think that's why I freaked out my friend. Because when he's standing across from me and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just fucking throwing.
You just go right back to...
He's like, shit, man. Yeah. He's fucking hitting me. Like, he's hitting me. That's a body shot, and my liver hurts. You know? Like, so I think... But anyways, back to that Mikey Garcia fight. I know you were talking... You had announced it on your Instagram.
Yes.
What was your perception of Mikey Garcia and Junior? What the hell was his name again? I forgot his name.
Robert Easter.
Yeah.
It went the way I was expecting. There was already a clear skill gap right off the bat. Yeah. And also just in terms of fight experience, Robert didn't really have enough fight experience just yet, but he took on the challenge anyway. Yeah. And so I knew the biggest thing that would play a huge factor is Mikey's extremely patient.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And he's also what I call a very good example of just a textbook boxer.
Yeah.
Hands up. Doesn't do anything amazing. He doesn't do anything like, those athletic boxers like Roy Jones or anything else like that. Doesn't do anything like in that sense, like the most memorable thing. But when you see him get to work, you see it happen. Yeah. Because like when he landed that left hook and got that knockdown, it wasn't like a rattle knockdown. It was just one of those, a flash knockdown. And Robert even realized like, oh shit, I didn't see that hook coming. Yeah. But he was able to recover from it. It's just one of those moments there. And even when Robert did like the perfect game plan too. Stay outside, work the jab, move around. But the thing was, Mikey knew that, and he started to realize that. So he knew like, okay, if he's going to play it like that, I just need to get close enough to force it into an inside fight or a brawl. It's going to be my round. Yeah. So he took his time because he knew, I have 12 rounds. Yeah. Sure, I may not look good in the first, second, or third, but...
And I also looked at Easter's other fights prior to this, and he is... He's a flash fighter. He doesn't. I think he's got the he has the endurance to go to 12. Yeah, but he didn't have that steady pace endurance.
No, it's because there's. I guess that's one thing to point out because me and a friend actually discussed about this too. There's a thing that he has with his jab, and I know the biggest reason why we had that conversation because I had that kind of similar habit as well. His jab is a consistent pace to the point where you can time it. So you can tell he's throwing it without intent behind it. Like not like intent, like he has to hit hard. He doesn't really have anything behind it. Like he's not throwing it with reason.
Yeah, it's a pop.
Yeah, it's just a pop, just like pop, pop. And if it gets it enough times, right hand will come through.
Yeah.
So he's doing the pop, hoping you get bothered by that.
So he's a 1-2-3 boxer. He's not, or sorry, a 1-1-2 boxer, as opposed to anything that's like a flurry.
Kind of, but the thing is, a lot of times, especially with some of his fights, because you'll see, like, even though he might have issues, he's got dog in him. You can tell. If you decide to get in there, if you take him into a whirlwind, he'll whirlwind with you.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about it. So even if you were doing kind of good, you were taking it really well, like you were winning the round well. If he goes into the whirlwind with you, he makes it so it's kind of hard to score the round.
Yeah.
So it's a case of this, like, it's like 2 gears, but he doesn't have anything for the middle just yet. So when he's working that jab,
he's a young guy too, actually.
Yeah. That's why it was just a case of like, okay, young dude, but he stepped up to it. He's just like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he also had a belt as well.
So what fight are you anticipating coming up?
The one I am anticipating?
Yeah.
I mean, there's other people who are anticipating it too, even if they kind of be like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. It's the Triple G Canelo rematch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see it. So I already had enough discussions with like some friends of mine. We've already made our calls of like who you pick, things like that, who you want in the rematch. So I'm just like, yeah, I even made a bet with one person. I'm just like, I normally don't do bets because I lose them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. Oh.
So who are you picking?
Canelo.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons is you don't go up against a counterpuncher twice. A counterpuncher remembers what you do.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's more likely to punish you for it. The other factor is he now knows what it's like to take a middleweight's punch.
Yeah.
So now he knows how it feels to be a middleweight.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a bit more confidence there. That's the only reason why, but I'm not thinking it will. I still think it will probably end up being a decision, though.
Who's got the age in that? Canelo's
the younger guy.
Yeah.
But even though, like, Triple G might be the older guy.
But he's fucking Russian, man. He's tough as fucking nails, that guy.
He's tough as nails, but the other thing that it's really funny because if you watch it in some of the replays, you watch it a little slower, you'll actually see there's certain points where it looks like he's getting hit in the head. He's not. He's turning his head slightly and it slides off the top of his head. Or he'll lift his gloves up slightly. He deflects a lot of the shots. He just doesn't show it. It looks like you're hitting him in the face.
That's why he looked so damn good after that fight, though. Like, he wasn't really busted up.
No, because he knows how to, like, take away shots. And, like, when Canelo threw that big right hand, he rolled with it.
Yeah.
So it's a case like he knows what to do just enough just to have it slide off. So it's almost in a similar vein to Chavez Sr., because a lot of people think Chavez Sr. or even Duran. Everyone thinks like, oh, he takes hits directly to the face. Like, if you watch carefully,
he's not.
They rarely get it.
I mean, he's not Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was taking shit.
He had no
like
choice.
Like Mike Tyson was taking shit to the face.
He had no choice.
I think Canelo's just got to stop eating those Mexican burritos filled with all that horse juice in it. You know, I think that's one of the biggest problems that Canelo faces, right? And it's not like he fucking needs it. I mean, the guy's already a beast, right? I was pretty taken back when so like I lived in Quebec for a little while, and I remember going to a corner store and I saw this Asian girl walk into the store, and she spoke better French than I could speak. And sure, that might sound really stereotypical, like stereotyping, but I was really blown away, right? Yeah. And the reference is when I saw Canelo with his red hair speaking Mexican. Yeah. I was fucking blown away. Right?
Yeah, it threw me off the first time I saw him.
Yeah, too. I was like, shit, son, what?
And then I saw like his family. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then once you see that, right? But he comes from a good stable. He comes from a good boxing wealth, right? Like,
yeah, he's from a boxing family.
Yeah, like he's got good stock in him. Yeah. You know, so I think, I mean, I hope that he's got a long career. I'm partial to Triple G. I just kind of I just like the guy. I like his grit. I like his I like his grit. I like his work ethic. Yep. I mean, he gets in there and he gets it done. But you're totally right. He should not be, unless he's got a game that we've never ever seen before. He shouldn't be walking in against Canelo again with the same game plan that he had before and anticipating a win. I'm
thinking this because this is something which you can actually watch in certain fights. If Triple G considers you a threat, he jabs more. He uses it to stifle you. Like when he fought Danny Jacobs and saw things were having an issue, he jabbed him more. David Lemieux, because he knew David Lemieux wanted to trade with him, kept jabbing him straight in the head.
I heard Eubanks Jr. is looking for another fight.
I just want to know who's going to be cornering for him.
Yeah.
Or who he's going to have for the training camp. But he's gotten this far his own way. I don't know if there's anybody who can actually reach out to him.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, Billy Joe fucked him up. And apparently Billy Joe's coming in to fight here in the U.S.
In the U.S.? Oh.
Yeah, he got a fight in New York.
Oh, okay. So it's against Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's actually going to be a really interesting fight.
That is going to be fucking awesome.
Andrade is really good too, and he has no problem throwing volume, and he's hard to hit.
I haven't seen much of him.
Yeah. The problem is with him is he'll always get weird matchups, and then he'll be like off for a while. He's in a weird matchup again, and then off for a while. It's once he got with Eddie Hearn.
Okay.
Is immediately how he got that matchup.
Right.
I guess it was just a case of just like who he was being managed by. Because sometimes like a case of like where you think like, oh, the management did this. Sometimes the fighter does it to themselves.
Fuck, eh?
So it was just a case of just like he thought like, oh, if I stall out, I'll get this fight.
It's almost like my best ideas get me where.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the question to ask. But you know what? I hate to stop this, but we're an hour in.
Ooh, oh shit.
So I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. I got my finishing announcements, but first I want you to plug your Instagram if you don't mind. So where can they find you?
PJC Luhanga.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that at the bottom of some of our like YouTube channel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys, I strongly encourage you to check out this guy's Instagram. I mean, some of the stuff that he picks out in his videos is incredible. And yeah, I mean, I would strongly encourage you guys to check it out.
I spend a lot of time looking at these videos, even when I should be working.
So shout outs to Liam Connolly at Connolly Law. For all of your Canadian law, will, estate and media issues, Google Liam Connolly at Connolly Law. Please go to our Patreon page. We are currently looking for a new not-for-profit to promote over the next 30 days. We ask that you go to our Patreon page and submit some requests of who you would like us to promote for the next 30 days and do a campaign for them. Why is it great to be a Patreon member for Life on Life's Terms? Well, you would get access to this podcast before it comes out on the Thursday or the Friday show for as simple as 3 Canadian coffees a week. This would give you content. You can also go early content, and you could also go to our Patreon page and get merchandise. We're going to have new t-shirts coming out right away here, as well as we're going to have some videos just for some of our Pride members. So we were talking about the Lions Pride of Life on Life's Terms, and we're going to get into that a little bit more on tomorrow's podcast when Kenny comes in. And yeah, so that's going to be pretty fantastic, I think. So please check us out at www.patreon.com/Life on Life's Terms. It's one full word. And thank you guys very much for listening. I bid you a farewell on this Thursday, and may your Friday be even better. Bye for now.